Mr. Mayor, on that $104,000 she spoke of, that's money that's put aside to implement that study
That's
if
correct.
it is done. That don't mean we're gonna spend that money.
That's correct.
It's not there to go to the drugstore or Walmart.
That's
It's
correct.
sitting there. If we implement this, we have the money in the budget to implement this study.
That's correct.
If not, right back into the general fund. So it's not money being spent.
That's right. I do want to mention one thing that this was talked about during the budget retreat, and we could not include it in the budget because we did not have any written documentation at the time. And so this week we have, and this is the new school resource officer that the school district is going to be paying for. So at the time we had the budget retreat, we did not have a letter in hand that they were going to fund this. So basically what we'll be doing is in our next council meeting, this will come up for a vote to amend the budget, to include this in the budget. Because you have to amend the budget to bring in the money and then have the expenses. So that will be on the next council meeting. So I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up. Nothing's been signed because it has to be voted on by the body before it can be signed. I just wanted to let you know this is a position that will be floating between the Gettys Middle School and the high school. Isn't that right, Chief?
Yes, sir.
Anything else I missed?
No, other than the fact that it's the school district funding the majority of that. I think
Right.
96%, I believe.
Same as they've done with all of our other resource officers, yeah. And you are not voting on that tonight. I'm just letting you know up front, we've got the letter now and.
How many total resource officers, Chief?
That'll be our seventh one.
There's a full-time at the high school and at Gettys, and this person will float back and forth to make two, depending on which school they're at.
Yes,
1.5, yeah.
So it'll be at least 1.5 at the KU schools where they figured in their budget.
Will this person work just during the school year and the summer months, do they still work for the school, or will work on the road patrol here?
They'll work on the road patrol. The chief puts them out doing the regular duties that other officers do when school's out. Even on the days that school's out during the year, if it's just a holiday on a Monday or Tuesday, they still work the road.
One more question, a little bit off from it. We talked about the COLA raise for the employees, 4%.
Correct.
Am I wrong? Answer me if I am, please. Is this for the full-time employees, not part-time, just the full-time employees?
I'll let Shannon answer that, but
That is correct.
yes,
That's
that's
the
right.
only ones that be accepted in this raise.
Right.
And that does not include yourself nor a member of this council body.
No, does not. Okay.
Bring it to for question.
Call for a question. All in favor of this ordinance, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Show we have one opposed. Item B, second reading of ordinance number 2022-20 to create a multi-year budget for specific projects previously approved by City Council. Do I hear a motion?
Motion bring to the floor.
Second.
Second.
Shannon?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is a multi-year budget that has been created basically to carry the monies forward from the current fiscal year. And this budget will allow us then to continue with the projects that we currently have in motion that they've been already approved by council. And like I said, it will span multiple fiscal years until the respective projects are complete. It's a very common thing for cities to do.
Any questions? Basically what this does is if a project, we're still working on a project at the end of this budget, this project can continue and we can continue paying the contractor. we don't have to vote on it again.
Correct.
Call for the question.
All in favor of this ordinance on second reading, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Show none opposed. Item 3 is council approval to start negotiations to get out of the SCDOT grant for the, should be Greenwave, Brushy Creek, Greenwave, I guess it doesn't matter. Greenway Trail. I hear a motion.
So moved.
Second. Second. So I'm gonna turn it over to Shannon or Kristen, whichever would like to discuss this. I think most everybody we talked about in our work session.
Yeah.
And this is just a one vote up or down so that we can continue negotiations, and I think Kristen will explain it to you.
Yeah, so this is the same thing I mentioned at our last meeting. So the grant that we currently have, SCDOT, we received it in 2014. It was approximately about $534,000. To date, it's a reimbursement grant. And to date, we have received back just over $351,000 from DOT. A lot of that is in the design fees for the Greenway Trail. Design is done. We did go out to bid. We have done everything that SCDOT has asked us to do. We did have an unsuccessful bid. We had several that were interested, contractors that were DOT qualified that were interested. But right now they have projects that are a little less strenuous on their plate that they can get done quicker, probably make a little bit more money too. By getting out of this grant, that's going to allow us to open up to individuals who are not necessarily DOT qualified. That doesn't mean they're not qualified contractors, it just means there's certain stipulations that DOT requires. And for this type of trail, it's not, a lot of the regulations that they have in place are not as needed, because you're not building a state highway, you're building a halfway trail. And we didn't have that for the Dugal Trail that's already established, to keep that in mind. I did receive confirmation on June 21st in a written email that we would not have to pay back our reimbursement that we have received from SCDOT. We've had verbal confirmation, but I do have it in an email that stated that from the gentleman that we are in direct contact with SCDOT, that we would not have to pay back what we have in reimbursement. We would lose the remaining, I think, $182,000. We would get to spend that. But this would allow us, and myself and Eddie, to go back out to bid, hopefully get a more successful bid and potentially more competitive bids. Right now, the updated cost for this trail, which was done at the 1st of June, is $1.87 million for trail construction. That is with DOT specifications. So I do think that number will drop. It will not drop significantly, but it will drop some. It's our recommendation that we move forward with the trail. Now, the other option is if DOT does come back and does not agree to what it said in the paper, we have to renegotiate with them on what we can do next.
Would this have an adverse effect on the city's future eligibility for grants, Kristen?
Correct, so that's a good question, and I asked that, and they said no. And if you would like to have that in writing, I can definitely do that. But right now, they said